I've got issues. We have in GitHub repositories an issues tab, and this can be useful for including a list of the features that you want to have in your product. We're going to be doing a sort of an agile style list of features, what we call the user stories, which altogether make up the product backlog, the full list of features that we're thinking we're going to want to build into our product. And I'm going to go ahead and make a couple of those just to show you how this works. Go to your issues tab in GitHub, click on a new issue, and we'll start to write a so-called user story. We think of these as being user facing. What is your user going to want your product to do? How do we phrase these? As a blank, I want blank so I can blank. This is the way we phrase user stories. And we think of who are our end users, who are the people who are going to be using our software, what is it they want to be able to do, and let's think about why they want to do that. Let's say I'm making a series of YouTube tutorials on using GitHub. As a burgeoning software developer, it's my end user, I want to watch a video about setting up a product backlog so I can do so-called agile style software development more fluidly. What do we put in the body of a user story? We would put a couple different things there. Different styles of doing this. I'll put an estimation of effort. How difficult does this sound like it's going to be to do? We'll figure that out later. I'll do acceptance criteria. These are commonly seen in user stories as well. This is maybe a list of things that have to be done for this particular user story to be considered complete. When you're using GitHub issues and you have probably eventually a variety of different kinds of things listed under the issues tab, not just user stories, it's helpful to label each one with what it really is. I'm going to label this as user story. So later on when I have other kinds of things, which we'll see in this list, this will be helpful for me to find the user stories only. Create a new label user story, pick your favorite color, done. That's going to be then saved, and I'll make another user story. Let's make one more user story just so we have a couple to work with. I'll make a new issue after saving that one, and we'll say, as a burgeoning software engineer, I want to watch a video about creating task boards in GitHub so I can impress potential employers. What are we going to do here? Let's put an estimation of effort and an acceptance criteria. And we'll figure that out later as well. I'm going to label this as user story. So that way all our user stories are labeled. We can filter by user story and see all our user stories and not any other stuff. And I'm going to submit this issue. Now, if I go to the issues tab, I'll see my 2 user stories. I've just pulled a trick on you and I've added a few more user stories to this list. So now we have our initial list of features of the project or product that we're trying to work on. And these are the features in the form of user stories, in this form of as a blank, I want to blank so I can blank, where we say, what is the role of the end user who is wanting this? What is it exactly they want? And the justification for why they want it so we can understand their motivations and make sure that we're meeting their desires. Now, these are in the issues tab in GitHub. I'm going to be putting them into what we call a task board, which I'll set up in a different video under the projects tab here. And you're going to see how you can take this list of features that you have for the entire product that you're trying to make or project you're trying to work on and break it up so that you only work on some of these in a given increment of work in a given period of time. You're not going to work on everything. You're going to work on just some of these. And so in the projects tab here, we're going to make some task boards for given sprints, which are what we call these increments. And we're going to decide which of these user stories do we want to work on in any given sprint and map those out in a visual way in a task board. And in those task boards, we'll go further and we'll say what is really necessary to do each of these user stories. So if I pick this as one that I want to work on, as a burgeoning software engineer, I want to understand how to plan a sprint so I can work effectively in an agile way. How do we really achieve that? What are the tasks necessary to do this? And what are what we call spikes necessary to do this? Tasks are units of work that together, multiple tasks would make up the work necessary to achieve a given user story. A spike is just some internal work that you have to do, maybe technical work you have to do that isn't related to a particular user story, but nevertheless needs to get done in a project. So tasks are the broken down units of work necessary for a user story, and spikes are extra work that doesn't really fit into any given user story, but nevertheless needs to be done. Those are the things that we will go ahead and start to map out in a particular task board for one particular increment of work that we call a sprint.